Consider supporting the work of Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian by becoming a monthly patron. Your contributions will help keep the resource alive and support its mission. Visit patreon.com/NAHblog to learn more and make a contribution of $3, $5, $10, or $20 per month. Again, that's patreon.com/NAHblog. You can start or stop anytime. Thank you for listening. Welcome to the Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian podcast. I'm your host, Relando Tompkins-Jones. I'm a social worker, social justice educator, writer, organizational consultant, and now podcaster who works to build more equitable and inclusive communities. I am also an aspiring humanitarian. My experiences have shown me that in the process of working for social justice outwardly, it's also important for us to continue to critically examine ourselves, shedding attitudes and behaviors that are oppressive to make room for those that are more inclusive, just, and humanitarian. What is an aspiring humanitarian, you ask? When I say humanitarian, I don't mean humanitarian in the harmful sense of placing ourselves in the role of a benevolent hero who's there to swoop in and save others. I mean dedicating one's life, time, and energy to honoring the ways that our destinies are intertwined. It's about accepting the lifelong pursuit to become more humane to those around us, with the recognition that we lose important parts of our humanity when we allow and enable the suffering of others. It means acknowledging our many contradictions and complications and aspiring to do more, aspiring to do better. It means acknowledging that systems of oppression exist by design and not by accident, and working towards an individual and collective transformation that includes an unshakable belief that our society's safety, viability, survival, and ability to thrive is only as secure as our most marginalized community members. Since 2011, my blog, Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian, has been a place where I've written and curated content on issues of equity and social justice. Through using written word, film, and video, and other forms of media for social justice education, I hope to continue to expand and enrich the narratives about social issues that face our society and to find ways to take action while encouraging others to do the same. Today, the blog and now the podcast is for others who share a passion for that same journey. No matter who you are, where you come from, what your identities are, or what area of work you're in, there's room enough for all of us in this work, and I hope that engaging with the podcast or the blog can move you closer to discovering or reaffirming your answers to the questions that you may have about how you can best be of service. Thank you for choosing the Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian podcast. I'm your host, Relando Tompkins-Jones. So I'm thinking about age today. Specifically, I'm thinking about how reflecting on age as a shared identity can create opportunities for empathy and connection. Whether I'm teaching in the classroom, facilitating a workshop with a community group, or participating in some other event, I continue to hear stories from people who are young, those who are old, and those in between about times when they were silenced, belittled, or marginalized due to their age when we're exploring the impact of our lived experiences within our social identities and how we are connected to power, privilege, and oppression. I also hear stories about times when people were advantaged because of age. Whether we're thinking about our individual or interpersonal experiences with marginalization, or whether we're making connections to more structural forms of oppression, age as an identity continues to surface as a point of conflict. And that makes sense because we live in a society that advantages members of some groups at the expense of others, and age as an identity is not exempt from that reality. So before I keep going here, I'm going to pause and make some important distinctions here. So ageism is the result of prejudice against people who are older, combined with the social and political power to act on that prejudice in ways that are both interpersonal and structural that impact the experiences and lives of people who are older in ways that reinforce this idea that older people are inferior to young people. And as a result, that empowers young people with a host of privileges as a result of that. Now, adultism is the result of prejudice against people who are younger, combined with the social and political power to act on that prejudice in ways that are both interpersonal and structural, that influence the lives and experiences of young people in ways that reinforce this idea that young people are inferior to old people. And as a result of that particular system and ism, older people are empowered with a host of privileges as a result. So sometimes, as a facilitator, someone might share a painful experience with ageism and follow it up with something adultist. And then sometimes another person might share something regarding their experience with adultism and then follow up with an ageist statement or comment. And so the more I hear these things, the more I can't help notice that pattern, as well as the opportunity that is often missed, but it can be named and appreciated if we're in a place to search for it. So, like I said, I'm really thinking about this week considering age and how considering age as a shared identity can create opportunities for empathy. Some of our social identities can change over time, and age is one of them. Ideology exists that, when backed by power, both privileges and oppresses us based on age. There are times when older age is valued because of some perceived or actual attainment of experience, yet there are points and environments when that same age is perceived as a liability. There are situations when youth is associated with traits like vitality and innovation, while in other contexts it might be associated with inexperience, incompetence, or some other negative traits. Considering age as a transitional, shared identity creates opportunities for empathy, appreciation, and positive social change. Moving from a framework that devalues people based on age to one that appreciates them, moving from a framework that assumes that we have it based on our age and perspective to one that recognizes that generationally, each of us has knowledge and strengths to contribute, as well as things to learn from each other, can open the door to affirming intergenerational exchanges. Getting there will involve us examining ourselves. Are you a person who is older? Think of some experiences where your age provided you some advantage. Can you remember times when you were younger and were dismissed due to your age? Are you a person who is younger? What are some ways that you felt youth is valued in society? Have you heard others make jokes or act on stereotypes against people who are older? What actions do we take? What systems do we participate in that reinforce those ideas of superiority and inferiority when we think about age? No matter how young or old we might be, we've been somewhere or we're heading somewhere when we think about the spectrum of aging and the experiences that come with it. The more we can commit to identifying the roles we play in improving or perpetuating the conditions that lead to, reinforce, contribute to ageism, adultism, the more we can discover how interconnected we really are and how much we really need to work together to create change. Thanks again for choosing the Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian podcast. I look forward to engaging with you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a review and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To find show notes for this and additional episodes, visit podcast.notesfromanaspiringhumanitarian.com. Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian is a labor of love and will continue to be. Consider supporting the work of Notes from an Aspiring Humanitarian by becoming a monthly patron. Your contributions will help keep this resource alive and support its mission. Visit patreon.com/NAHblog to learn more and make a contribution of $3, $5, $10, or $20 per month. Again, that's patreon.com/NAHblog. You can start or stop anytime. Thank you for joining me this week. Take care.